Good evening, everybody. My name is Adam Bria. I'm the chair of the Housing Committee for CB11. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. on October 7th, 2025. Angel, you could go to the next slide for me. All right, before we begin, I'm just going to observe some ground rules for tonight's meeting. Number one, no one may speak until granted the floor. Two, CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects in the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Next slide, please. All right, well, I call the meeting to order. So Angel, could you please take the roll?
Sure. Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Adam Brija.
Present.
Marie Charles.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
James Gray.
Present.
John Green. Tina Johnson.
Here. Present.
Thanks, John. Wilfredo Lopez is absent. Jessica Morris is absent. Beverly Pagone is excused. Dawn Sanders is absent. Loretta So.
Present.
Thank you. Candy Vivas Vasquez. Absent. Jason Wu. Absent. We have four.
All right, thank you. With that said, we'll move to the adoption of this month's agenda. If I don't see any objections, we'll adopt. If you're, can you please mute yourself if you're on Zoom until you're recognized? If I don't see any objections to this night, tonight's agenda, then we will approve it. Seeing no objections, then tonight's agenda has been approved. I owe the committee minutes from last month. I'm going to get them to Angel by the end of this week, so we will move. It's just this past meeting, September, so I will have that, and we'll have it by next meeting. With that, we'll move to announcements and informational updates. There are none here. I was talking to some members before, and I saw that there was a gas explosion in Mitchell houses in the South Bronx. The pictures were horrendous. Amazingly enough, no one got hurt. The rubble came down even to a children's playground. So, I mean, a major crisis averted, but I don't know, how many times that'll happen. I think it's just something to keep in mind. We've been doing a lot of NYCHA stuff here. We've been talking a lot about the PAC program and what this means for bringing renovations to these, buildings that are much needed, that they're not getting the federal funding where they currently are. And there has been pushback about PAC, and, I can't speak specifically to it. I don't live in NYCHA, and I understand people have their concerns, but there also seems to be a lot of misinformation. And so I just think that that's going to be one of our goals, to find a way to make sure that this program is implemented the best it can be, because something like that happening, because repairs that need to be happened, that should be put before everything else, right? I mean, so that's just something to keep in mind, because it's going to kind of go hand in hand with the work we're doing, this session. With that said, now I'm going to, meetings have been going very long in general. Every committee meeting has turned into a full board meeting. We're going to go for 90 minutes tonight, okay? So I'm going to go through the agenda right now quickly and tell you the time allotments. The presenters are going to be told that. They can probably hear me now. And I'm gonna cut people off. I'm not gonna be mean about it, but we're just gonna be as efficient as we can. And with that said, in the sake of efficiency, I will just go through this. So first, we're gonna have update on Ascendant Neighborhood Development on NYCHA PAC projects. They were here already. I believe it was right before the summer. We went into session. We're gonna have one on Metro North Plaza and Gaylord White houses. That'll be 15 minutes. Hopefully they can keep it shorter. That 15 minutes will include the time for a couple of questions. The other one's PAC 11, Jackie Robinson houses and scattered sites. Same timing situation with that. We'll go to presentations and discussion. We're gonna have a discussion on the committee goals. Taking into account everything we talked about last month, With the help of Angel, we've already crafted 3 goals, so hopefully that'll be a very quick part of the meeting. We'll then have a discussion on our district needs and budget requests. That'll be very quick. We have a couple of new ones, a couple of old ones coming off. It'll just be a question of where we want to put the new ones relative to what's there that we're keeping, okay? And then old business, we're gonna have a couple of discussions on the stuff that was presented to us last month. A would be the proposed supportive housing at 2162 Third Avenue. And then B would be the proposed crisis residential support center at 420 East 117th Street. I'm gonna assume that there are gonna be hands from the public that are gonna want to speak to that, and we will be recognizing those hands. Again, we're gonna go for efficiency, but in a way, hopefully, that we can hear as much from everybody as possible, okay? So with that said, we'll circle back now. If Ascendant is here, the floor is yours. Present Metro North Plaza and Gaylord White houses first. We'll stop there, see if we have a couple of questions, and then we'll move right into the Pact 11 presentation. So Angel, do they have access?
Yeah.
You guys can unmute yourself, introduce yourselves. If you want to have a PowerPoint and want to put it up, now's the time.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Cirillo. I'm the Executive Director of Ascendant Neighborhood Development Corporation. I don't believe we have a PowerPoint this evening. We want to be respectful of your time. And basically, we wanted to come back to provide some updates because since we last presented on both of these projects before the summer or the early summer, we've hit a major milestone on Metro North Plaza and Gaylord White, and we are about to hit that same milestone on Jackie Robinson Harlem Scattered sites. And that is reaching the point where the project has closed and converted into the PACT program, and where our teams, in the case of Metro North and Gaylord White, have started the work under the PACT program that we presented the last time we were here. And the closing and conversion for Jackie Robinson and Harlem Scattered sites will hopefully be happening later this month. And so I'm going to keep it brief. And I think as people speak, we'll introduce ourselves to save some time. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Brian Backscheider from the Community Builders, who is Ascendant's development partner on the Metro North Plaza and Gaylord White project.
As Chris mentioned, I'm Brian Backscheider from the Community Builders. So I'll just give a brief update. So as Chris mentioned, we closed on September 25th, so a week and a half ago. And immediately, our Wavecrest, who's the property manager at Metro North and Gaylord White, blitzed the property to clean it up. We had extra crews on site to do a full cleaning of all of the common spaces of the building, the exteriors of the building, and then also we've been working quickly to secure the sites. So at Metro North, where the front doors have just been wide open for many years, we've replaced the locks. We're working on replacing the magnetic releases on those doors, hopefully by tomorrow. We've been working with households that now, for the first time in years, need to make sure they have a key, for their front door. And so we're, and that's also helping us make sure that the people that are getting into the building are the people that live in the building, or their guests. And so we're working very closely also at Gaylord White. The same, they've had repeated issues with their front door. We're working through repairs on that door as well. We're hoping by the end of this week that will be fully addressed. And then in addition to securing the site, we've also been working closely with PSA 5 at Metro North. As some of you may know, there was an encampment in the courtyards of the building. There's been one pass of clearing that out. I think there's another one that we're working on getting coordinated. There was somebody living in the elevator machine room of the building that was removed by PSA 5. And so we've been working to really secure the site, to change sort of the the approach to property management there. We've also been working through some of the work orders that were handed over from NYCHA to address emergency conditions like mold in apartments. So we have both property management and third-party consultants out doing repairs to address those emergency conditions. So all of this is really just our first sort of emergency sort of stabilization of the properties. And Wavecrest is continuing to work through those. We've also, it's the 7th of the month now, so we've gone through one round of, rent bills going out and working through, the kinks of there's, a new property manager to pay for rent. So we've been working with households to make sure they understand the process. And then on the construction side, we are mobilizing really. So MDG is getting set up on site. We're opening up their site office there in the next few days. We've released material orders and we're looking at getting those in to gear up to start really the construction work on site in the next month. We'll continue to listen to the residents, to talk with NYCHA, to hear from the community board, and sort of continue to respond and adapt as we get in the buildings and really get to learn the buildings even more than we know already.
Is anyone else speaking about this?
I
We can
don't
go
know,
to questions.
Sam is here from NYCHA. I don't know if you wanted to comment at all.
Hard to hear over. There's a lot of background static. Sorry. So just to echo what Brian said, we've reached a really big milestone here, and one of the points of, I think, misinformation, miscommunication around the PAC program is that the PAC program is privatization of these developments. And, this is not an accurate statement. Even after conversion, it has to be reiterated that this continues to be a NYCHA property. NYCHA continues to own the land that the sites are located on, as well as the buildings themselves. We continue to recertify residents and oversee conditions of the property. And besides, the formal ownership of the property, engagement that has been really thorough leading up to this conversion point continues after conversion. So, my department, I work for the real estate department. My unit, specifically portfolio planning, manages resident engagement and outreach prior to, but I myself work ensuring that this.
We're not hearing you great. You're coming in very choppy.
I believe
Try now.
sorry, I believe the mic for the board itself is sort of clashing with Sam talking. Is there a way to mute the board?
I don't know if that's the case, because you're talking now, we're hearing you fine, so it might be on his end.
No, there's no background noise in my house, in my room. It's pretty silent. So I think it is your room, because when Brian was talking as well. So I'm happy to repeat myself, but it is not my microphone.
Okay, I think if there's nothing else, we'll go into some questions. I have a couple to start. If this is just, we're gonna just go on Metro North Plaza and Gaylord White houses. I wanna say that, and you all have it, the security plan that they implemented, that was a concern of mine specifically. We did the walkthrough, and it's nice to see that they are putting security in place and they're taking the tenant feedback into consideration. So that's appreciated. This is more of a general thing. It's been brought to my attention, but I do want to ask before I say anything. Is Wavecrest based in Queens. I think one of the addresses would be 8714 116th Street. Is that correct? In like Richmond, Queens, Richmond Hill?
That sounds right. I don't have their address in front of me, but that sounds right.
Well, if that is the case, it's been brought to my attention, and then I followed up with it, that there are like really bad reviews and reputation of how they've been handling stuff. I mean, I'm just gonna be fully transparent. I was told this, then I went on Google reviews. You know, we could question how reliable that is, but you know, that's usually feedback from people who are experiencing something, and it's, I believe, like close to 500 reviews with a 2.6 stars, which is, from my experience, definitely not good. So I guess my question is, are you aware that there might be issues that people that are, you know, living in properties currently managed by Wavecrest, is this news to you? Are you aware that they might not have the best online reputation at the moment? And if that is the case, what assurances could we have that that would be something that's being turned around? And if this is new information to you, what assurances could we have that this would be looked into to see how maybe correct this is, and then what could be done to address that?
Yeah, I can talk briefly, although yeah, I don't want to speak too much for Wavecrest because they're our property manager, but I don't want to speak on their behalf. I mean, certainly property management's a hard business, and I think a lot of your reviews of property management companies online don't look so great. But that being said, we did thoroughly vet Wavecrest before, agreeing to work with them as our property manager. They do have a very good reputation with NYCHA and the way that they've handled these PACT program. So we trust that they know this program well, but we also know that we have standards for what we expect for how buildings are run. And we are continuing to be a very involved owner, and we'll continue to hold them to a high standard.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna go to Christina and then Jessica, and then,
Can I just add one thing to that from the NYCHA perspective?
yeah, go ahead.
Just NYCHA also keeps very close tabs and regularly collects reports on all management data after conversion. We have an asset management department that regularly monitors temporary moves, recertifications, any kind of legal proceedings on a very monthly basis. So any kind of performance issues or significant conflicts between residents and management very quickly comes to our attention. And one of the features of the PAC program is that we do have the ability to step in and intervene to settle disputes and remove partners if needed. However, as Brian said, Wavecrest has been an exemplar partner throughout the city. I've worked with them on projects throughout Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, sorry, not Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. Geographical location of their main office has not, by any means stopped them from sending out senior leadership on regular basis to meetings in any development that they're working. And we feel very confident about their abilities as a partner, and that is why we keep on partnering them at PAC projects throughout the city. But there are many levers built into the program to step in and monitor conditions that may arise with any management company that is part of a PAC team.
Okay, thank you. We'll go Christina and Jessica, and then we'll move on to anything you guys want to share about Jackie Robinson Housing.
Yeah, I just have two quick questions. Who is the construction company again?
MDG.
MDG. Okay, and how many developments is Wavecrest currently managing?
Is the question NYCHA developments or across their portfolio?
NYCHA developments.
Sam, I don't know. Do you have that information?
I don't have it off the top of my head. They are working on some that have not converted yet. They're on a few that have already converted. But I don't have that information. I can pull it up though and have the team share with you shortly though.
Is it possible they could have 50 or more developments?
No, not pack sites. We have not converted that many properties so far, and yeah, that would not be possible.
Okay, look forward to hearing how many. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Jessica?
Yeah, thank you very much. I live between these two projects, the White Houses in Metro North. They're not far from each other. I just want to say that the blitz that you did didn't land in the dumpster, and it was sitting there for a number of days as of yesterday. So I'm not sure what the plan is, but hoping that it's been dealt with, because it was a pretty enormous heap just hanging out right underneath the sort of underpass that goes underneath the buildings through the weekend. So this was last week, it's Tuesday, I haven't been there since yesterday, it was there yesterday, got bigger over the weekend. So I'm not sure that the plan to manage the blitz was executed quite as you've intended. However, I think with regard to the intention to secure the perimeter as kind of the sort of first order of business, there's a sort of, there's a stoop culture at the three main kind of points of entry to the development that, is very much a part of the place. And are there boots on the ground? Are there people there engaging with residents in a positive way to ensure that that they don't feel alienated by things that are changing as they're happening, while you're also doing the good work of implementing those changes? I know it's a sensitive kind of process, but just kind of changing the locks isn't going to shift the culture, isn't going to make people feel welcome in their current home, in their future home, if they're not going anywhere. So if you can, and there is a sort of a long history of really terrible work that happened here after Sandy. Staircases to nowhere, Chris, you know what I'm talking about with that one. Stop work orders on, infrastructure components, playgrounds that were renovated that still haven't been accessed after maybe 5 or more years. How is the community going to get the message that there's change for good, not just more bad work going on here? Because it's still, things are happening, yes, but it doesn't seem to be a sort of a positive direction that I can tell yet, having been around the block a couple times in the past few weeks. So thank you.
Would you like to respond to that? I feel like at least the first part, in terms of the, I don't know, what do we call it?
Blitz.
The cleaning blitz.
Has that been addressed?
Yeah, so I can respond on the cleaning blitz. So there is a bit, we're working with the Department of Sanitation because the properties will be serviced by Department of Sanitation, but they weren't, the handover wasn't very smooth. But we do have the dumpsters on site, and we will continue to cycle those out as they fill up. We'll bring it into new dumpsters as needed to handle just the operational debris, and then the construction debris. There'll also be containers to handle that. But I share your frustration. I think that we could have handled that better for the blitz those first several days. And then to the larger point, I really appreciate what you said. I think you're right to one point you said it's a process, and I think we agree that it's a process. We've been working with the residents of these buildings for a couple of years now, trying to meet regularly, giving lots of opportunity for feedback. That will continue as we move into now operation of the site. I've been in very close contact with the tenant associations of both buildings, just checking in, trying to make sure we're hearing feedback, not just when we call a meeting, but just regular, feedback from what people are saying to them on the ground. So far, it's been mostly very positive feedback that we've heard. Our management team has also had mostly very positive feedback just from individuals on the properties. But that doesn't mean we're doing it all right, and we acknowledge that. And so we're just going to keep, being there, being on site, and trying to keep our ears to the ground and keep open lines of communication.
Okay, thank you. With that said, now we will move to the second presentation, or just the second informational update on Pact 11, Jackie Robinson houses and scattered sites. So I don't know who will be speaking to that.
Hi again, Chris from Ascendant. Yeah, we have sort of more brief update on the Pact 11 project, Jackie Robinson and Harlem scattered sites. That project includes 7 NYCHA developments, 5 of which are in East Harlem and CB11, and 2 that are in Central Harlem. The East Harlem developments are Jackie Robinson, Corsi, Upaka 5, Upaka 6, Mount Morris Senior, and then in Central Harlem, it's 131 St. Nicholas Avenue and the Taft Rehabs. And Melissa Bindra from Via Development, who is one of Ascendant's partners on that project, is here as well and can provide a brief update. So as I noted in my earlier comments, the Pact 10 project, Metro North and White, has closed and the conversion has happened, and Wavecrest has taken over as property manager, and rehab work is gearing up to start. For the Pact 11 project, we are not quite at that point yet, although we expect to get there within the next month or so. I can turn it over to Melissa if she is.
Sure. Hi, Melissa Bindra from Via Development. Chris basically got it all. We're aiming to convert by the end of this month. We've met with each of the resident associations. We held tenant meetings, tenant-wide meetings at each of the properties. And our team has started to meet with folks to prepare them for construction just to get a head start. But the conversion will happen if it goes as planned at the end of this month. And residents will be receiving notices, welcome packets, very similar to the Pact 10 process. I'm so happy to, if any of you want to take any tours, or if you'd like us to come in and provide any updates next month after the conversion, happy to do that.
Okay, I'm gonna take 2 questions. I just want to say, you read my mind. The tour thing, I think the last time you guys presented was right before we went into summer break, but I think I would like to reach out, and I'll probably reach out to Chris just to make it easier and see if we could set up 2 tours for some of the housing committee members who can make it a time that works for everybody. And then obviously anyone who wants to go straight through you guys to set up a tour, they're welcome to as well. But I'll be reaching out to Chris about that. So thank you for that. And then I'm going to recognize Loretta and Jessica, and then I think we'll let you all leave for the evening. All right. So thank you.
Good evening. And Adam, I spoke with my president, association, Ms. Glenn, about our housing committee coming and doing a tour with Jackie Robinson. Yes, I'm Loretta Soul, a resident of Jackie Robinson houses, as well as a member of the executive board, resident association. And we did have a meeting last week, was it Tuesday, with PAC in regards to the work on Jackie Robinson. So we were informed that the conversion will take sometime the middle of this month. But one of the concerns was with the residents was in terms of that conversion, what's happening, because currently have some NYCHA workers there. And will the NYCHA workers still be around to assist the residents with any concerns or repairs? That's a question I'm going to.
Absolutely. So the NYCHA staff will be on site up until the conversion. They will be there. They are responsible for providing to continuing the same amount of service, and they will be on site until the conversion date. At that point, NYCHA will reassign them to other sites. So they will remain NYCHA employees.
And is CC management taking over in terms of who we
That's right.
supposed to
That's right. So at the
contact?
conversion date, CNC will take over. Residents will receive a welcome packet with all of the information on who to contact. The property management office will be at 1980 Lexington, at the building that's called UPACA 5. The current location of NYCHA's Manhattan Borough offices. And the welcome packet will include all of the phone numbers that residents will need, all of the information that they will need regarding rent or any other leasing compliance issues, security will be in that packet.
Okay,
And I guess
thank you. Oh, go ahead, Loretta.
I guess my last concern is we were told that the residents will have to move out of their apartment in order for the work to be done. Will we be given ahead of time the various locations that we will have to go to in terms of housing?
Yes. So for Jackie Robinson houses specifically, just for everyone's information, most of the work that we're doing in all of the other buildings in this community board, we're doing the work while the residents live in their apartments, but at Jackie Robinson houses, we identified some hazardous substances that need to be removed from the apartment, and residents cannot be in their apartments while we're doing the work. So we're moving them temporarily to other apartments within the portfolio. So for example, some residents from Jackie Robinson houses may move to UPACA 5 at 1980 Lexington temporarily. Our team and what they've started doing is meeting with residents, understanding their particular situation and helping come up with a plan for them. And we'll match them up with an apartment. You'll be notified. We'll work very closely with you well ahead of time to set a date for your move.
Okay.
And then, of course, this also always comes up. We take care of everything related to it, all the logistics and all the costs related to the temporary move.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go Jessica, and then we have one hand from the public. And as always, if you guys think of questions after the fact, you could send them directly. I could give you the contact info, or you could send it and I'll forward it and get you the responses. So Jessica, and then one hand from the public. Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks, and thank you very much. This is an enormous undertaking, and it will take a long time, and the progress will, I'm sure, be staggered at every location. And so I'm wondering, my question is there a mechanism to provide information and updates with a little bit more detail than you're sharing with us verbally right now, that can be accessed by members of the public? I imagine there's a set of information that's delivered at each of the engagement sessions and outreach points that you have with community members, but can that also somehow be sort of shared and then kind of just sort of referenced as you make progress, if you have a sort of a timeline, so that as we're here getting updates, we can say, oh, you're meeting your milestones, that is a good track record you're building, and we can be reassured that everything is going as planned, so that it doesn't turn into a pileup if things start to sort of get delayed, that we can really help to be a good partner in the project by being informed in a way beyond just verbal kind of sharing information.
Yes, so we have a website, Harlem Pact, Harlem and PACT. Matthias just put it up in the chat, where we put all of our information, any presentations, any detail that we have in English, Spanish, Mandarin, and in simplified and traditional Chinese. So that's available on the website. Of course, we also have a phone number and an email address where anybody contact at Harlem Pact can reach out with any questions. And going forward, so far we've been having meetings with residents more or less every 2 months. Going forward, because to your point, the construction schedule, it's one thing when you're building a new building, but when we're working inside of people's homes and inside of the buildings that are occupied, we have to make adjustments as we go. Like I said, we're meeting with people. We have a plan, but we're meeting with people and they have lives and they have things that are going on, and we have to adjust our plans as we go, right? And so to keep people updated, we're going to have quarterly meetings. So the next round of meetings I'm expecting to be in December. And then we usually also put together a newsletter that goes out to residents. That's also quarterly. And then, of course, we keep up our monthly meetings with each of the tenant associations.
Thank you. Sorry, just point of clarification. The Harlem Pact website refers to the Pact 11 specifically.
That's right. That's what NYCHA calls Jackie Robinson and Harlem scattered sites.
It's Harlem Pact.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to recognize you. Just introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Oh, nice to meet everybody. My name's Chris. I'm just a community member here. On the subject of Wavecrest, in a 2024 report by the comptroller on eviction rates for NYCHA houses, they found that there were some PAC property managers that were like evicting people at a significantly higher rate than the original NYCHA owners. And Wavecrest was named in that report. I don't know if this has been resolved already.
That might be more of a question for Chris or someone else on the team. So whoever is qualified to maybe address that, please go ahead.
Yeah, I can jump in. Hey, sorry, I turned on my video. So yeah, I mean, we are aware of that report. We also know that, you know, as a company, the community builders isn't interested in evicting our tenants. It's really a last resort. We also, you know, on this site we'll have what we call our community life department of the community builders to provide resident support services, including assistance with, you know, eviction prevention. So it's, you know, connecting households with sources of money if needed, and other ways to support them to make sure people are staying in their houses.
Okay. By the way, that's a great question. I've raised that too. And I think that that's the biggest challenge, right? I do think this could be and is a great program to getting things fixed, but we need the residents to not have those concerns, or if there's even misinformation being spread to some extent, that could resolve a lot of this. Because I think that we're all aware that, you know, this is kind of like the lifeline in a way that NYCHA needs with the federal funding drying up. So, you know, we shouldn't let something like that derail this, because overall I think it's going to hopefully do a lot of good. All right. So with that said, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you for coming again. You're welcome whenever you feel you have an update to share. And I guess, Chris, for the sake of keeping everything centralized, I will be following up to see if we can set up some walkthroughs for the housing committee. All right. And with that said, I just want to thank you all for being. Yep.
No, just thank you very much. And I also just wanted to mention Matthias put in the chat the website for the Pact 10 project as well. So there's a comparable website for the Metro North Plaza and Gaylord White project that similarly has all the copies of all the presentations and information that's being shared with residents of those two developments. So, you know, those are always great resources for folks on the committee or in the community who want more information about what's happening. And as we transition into this different period, you know, up till now, it's been a lot of outreach and planning for this moment of the conversion, but a lot of more information will be coming out Another thing that I don't know that we mentioned is each of the projects has what's called a community plan. So residents will be getting a copy of this and they'll be posted on the websites as well, which kind of are a great overview of everything that's happening in each as part of the PACT program at each site, not just the rehab, the property management, social service plans, and implementation plans. So there's a lot of information available on the websites, but we're happy to be a resource and contact point for both teams to help get more information to the community board and to field questions, requests for tours, etc. So please do feel free to reach out to me, Matthias, and Victor. We're all here and happy to help in whatever way we can.
Thank you so much. And I'll have Angel circulate those websites for everybody so you guys can look into that. I already looked, they're pretty in-depth and informative. So thank you guys again. Have a great night and we'll see you soon. All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
All right, so now we're gonna move into presentations and discussions. I know it says 15. I don't think we're gonna spend, hopefully not nearly that amount of time. So last month, we talked about the committee goals for the 2025, 2026 season or year. And I spoke to Angel. We kind of took everything into account that we've spoken about at our meeting last month, and now I lost the email. But we have 3 goals. We figured to keep it to 3. We can always adjust from there. One of the goals that we're gonna carry over from last year, or I don't know if it's so much as a goal, but we're gonna continue to do the NYCHA walkthrough. I think there have been questions at points about, the walkthroughs just being like, like doing a walkthrough for the sake of doing a walkthrough, right? But, which I'm fine with, but, some people have said like, will results come from these walkthroughs? And it's hard to make those promises. You don't want to say that and then it doesn't happen. It's like you let people down. But I will say that, like indirectly, and I've been, I was asked not to share something just because it hasn't happened yet, and people are afraid that if it's said, it might not happen. But and I hopefully will be able to share it soon, that one of the walkthroughs may have resulted in something pretty good for one of the developments. Something I can share is when we did the walkthrough of, and it's actually going to be coming up later tonight. It's not so much results that we've gotten, but like feedback and finding ways to implement it. So when we did the walkthrough of Wagner, and even the first walkthrough, the sidewalks on 124th between 1st and 2nd across from the Wagner pool, which I believe Angel shared with me earlier, is getting redone, the pool. But the sidewalk on the Wagner side's been really bad. It's hard for seniors to navigate, but we saw it. It's pretty much hard for anybody to navigate. So I reached out to NYCHA about that, but also about the grounds within Wagner, which are also the case in a lot of these other NYCHA developments. There's a lot of potholes, cracks. Again, there are a lot of seniors and that live in these properties. It's near playgrounds where kids play. It's a hazard. I'm sure NYCHA doesn't want people getting hurt on their properties either. It sounds like it could be an insurance problem. So I think it's in everybody's best interest to get that fixed. And you'll see that our budget requests, when we get to those next, are actually covering that. And I'm also trying to get in contact with who I need to at DOT about that sidewalk, but then circling back with NYCHA because they seem to have forgotten the part where I talked about the actual grounds inside of NYCHA, which is not a DOT thing, right? That's actually NYCHA. So, and you'll see that we've distinguished the two. The other goals are, Angel, you're gonna have to correct me. I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, but getting community engagement events. Yep.
I'll just read it for you. The second goal is to organize outreach engagement event in spring of this coming year with housing service organizations. And then third is conduct an assessment of project-based Section 8 properties in East Harlem relation to contract terms, property conditions, tenant concerns. So for project-based Section 8s, they run these long contracts. So finding out where each of these what all these properties are and where they stand in terms of the current state of their contract. Are they about to expire, or do they still have many years running? It's important to know that because that helps with organizing the building and, you know, advocating for an extension, which this committee in the past has very successfully helped to happen on 4 properties, right? Which one? The top prop ones. And then, you know, like with every other property, there's always concerns about conditions on those properties and concerns, you know, from the tenants about how they're living within those properties.
Okay, so those are 3 goals. Yeah.
No.
Just can you clarify the sort of an outreach event engaging housing service agencies? Did I hear that right?
Yeah,
So housing service organizations.
like
so,
Acacia, Community Voices Heard, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
those kind of organizations.
And the outreach event would be something independent or in conjunction with other things that happen in the community in the spring?
Well, I think we haven't gotten that far, but I mean, it could be as possible as, I mean, if you have ideas, but it could also just be something that's done in conjunction with the housing committee and one of those agencies or multiple ones. I don't know if anyone has ideas specifically. No, I'm being.
I'd be educating the
Yeah,
public.
I mean, I don't want to call these things like a forum. We've always said that, but like it could be, you know.
Work.
I mean, like I said, I think I've done a good job with it. You are all welcome to reach out to me anytime. Like I'm not here to like give you all the ideas, like, right? Like I don't know, but you know, but if you guys come to me like, hey, can we reach out to so-and-so and try to get this done? And you want to be a part of the talks too, we can do it. I'm not going to ask like 9 of us to be talking to one person, but if you have that interest, we can do it. But I will come back, I promise, at least next month with something like tangible in regards to that, okay? And
Dan?
yeah, Dawn, I'll let Angel talk and then I'm gonna get right to you.
Okay, thanks.
Second. In terms of these goals, these are goals for this committee to work on.
Right.
It's not for them to do for the committee, it's for the committee to work on. And the second thing is an event for this committee to organize, to put on for the benefit of the community, working with these other organizations that work in these areas.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
Dawn?
Yep. So there's a few things I would usually put in the chat, but I don't have access to the chat. So going back, I did want to thank Chris, who I've worked with at HPD when I was there about 20 years ago. And I did have a question for him, but I will email him later. And then secondly, I wanted to give you an update that I had followed up with one of the vendors, one of the firms that's doing the Sandy recovery regarding Wagner's community center and whether or not funds were going to be set aside. So that, again, that goes along with what Adim said, which we shouldn't say anything. And then I also followed up on the illegal parking, because that's something that really drives me crazy about our community. So the illegal parking that's happening on, I think it's 119th between First and Pleasant. So the TA president took me over there. So those are 2 things that I took upon myself to look into, and I'll just keep you posted. So I have to sign off soon because a lot of our public schools are having their funding stripped. A lot of stuff is happening in the community that we don't ever touch upon, but I did want to just show my support for you, Adim, and give you those 2 updates.
Thank you so much. I always appreciate that. With that said, we're gonna move on to the capital budget and expense request. We're gonna have to take a position on our, what we have tonight, so we can hand that off officially to the District Needs Committee. So you have it in front of you. Relatively straightforward. I'll just kind of give you guys, just go through this. We'll do the capital ones first. So no, we're not doing the capital ones first. What? Wait, these are the capital ones, right?
I think you have 2 or 3 of them.
You have them? You have it?
Yeah, this is.
All right, so for capital, 4 and 6, we're keeping. 16, we're removing, and we're removing it because the response from the agency last time, being NYCHA, said that it was recommended that this request be brought to the attention of your elected officials. So we'll have to do that and remove it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be replacing number 16 with 2 other capital budget requests for NYCHA and then one for DOT. So the first one for NYCHA is to provide funding for the repairs of damaged walkways within NYCHA developments. Many of the walkways within NYCHA developments, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's basically what I talked about before, the conditions of those. And then the next one is to repair or construct sidewalks, curbs, or pedestrian ramps that are in front of NYCHA properties, and that's going to DOT. So I'm of the mind that we can just leave 4, 6, and 6 where they are. I wouldn't put 16 higher than those. So that would just leave us with 16 and then now 17. And I don't know if there's any opinions on, does somebody think that 16 or 17, one of them should go first? So would we rather leave the NYCHA with the conditions of the repairs? Go ahead, Angel.
Sorry, just to remind you what I was explaining before, PCP has changed how they
Ranking it.
Yeah, doing the rankings. This is brand new, like they just told us a week and a half ago. Which is a good thing.
Also be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No. So we're now able to, instead of having to put all of our requests and prioritize all of them, so that you can have some parks, some housing, some whatever, we can do them by agency. So if we have 5 requests for HPD, then we just rank the 5 HPD ones, and separately we rank, the 3 DOTs and the 4 DOEs and so on. So the 16 and all the numbers that we're accustomed to reading off, you don't gotta worry about that no more. Just look at, like in this case, you have 2 HPDs, so you rank those, and you have 1 NYCHA, because they need a ranking, and 1 DOT, so that's pretty easy. And then when you get to the expense one, then you have a lot more of the HPDs, so you can figure out the order for those, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, point of clarification.
Yeah.
We're housing and we're asking something from DOT. How is public safety and transportation going to fit us into their overall agenda of maybe more DOT asks? Or is that then up to district needs and budget to find the right place for our asks?
That's right. It's up to the budget committee to figure that part out.
So we can
Well, I've already.
lobby stage if we need to.
Yeah, so like that, like Adem was explaining, that request came from his communication with NYCHA, where they clarified that their jurisdiction doesn't extend to the sidewalk. So still wanting to address that need that was raised to them by splitting it up and then making a recommendation to them.
And Michelle's aware, so our public's safety.
That's true.
I don't know, but Angel's made life a lot easier, so we don't really have to re-rank anything. We're gonna, 4 and 6 are HPD, so we'll just, that's 1 and 2. And then NYCHA has 1, so that's 1, and then, we'll figure out the DOT thing,
Another point of clarification.
okay?
Are we at the point in the process, and pardon me for not really knowing, but are we at the point in the process where we can suggest a new ask?
I mean, I've been emailing people for like 3 weeks now for a request.
But this part of the cycle, where we're getting
I don't know,
to-
are we,
Yes,
Angel?
This
That's,
is where we make new asks.
I think tonight was supposed to be about dealing with the asks we have.
Tonight's the ranking.
Right.
To submit to the committee.
But I'll let Angel, you might know the exacts on that.
So I'm just gonna piggyback on what Adem said, like committees have been being asked to send things in advance in preparation for their October meetings. So like we have these 2 news that Adem asked, like similarly, we could have entertained other news. So you could add them now, but they haven't, so you could technically, yes.
But you have.
Whether or not you should be adding stuff at the kind of at this stage of the cycles, it's up to you guys to decide, but technically you can.
This is the part of the cycle where we would add new, and that's what you've been asking for from us.
Yes.
Adele.
Mhm.
Thanks.
I don't know if you meant like tonight or just in general, and I'm only following the direction of that committee.
I would just say that last year in youth, we put a lot in the last minute, and I don't think we did the right justice in presenting it. We didn't put in the proper time that we need to research and get the facts right. And it seemed like they were redundant, and that's some of the ones we're taking out. So I wouldn't rush to just throw something in if you don't have the proper
I did a little
information and
homework.
documentation.
I just wanted to put something on the table. We've got two NORCs I know, we've got two NORCs. One at Johnson Houses and one at Franklin Plaza. Asking for support for those communities within our community may be a good thing. I don't think we hear from them regularly, but
There's
they.
there's two Johnson centers, so which one are you talking about?
The Nork at Johnson is managed though by Stanley Isaacs, so I don't know.
So you're talking about the one on First Avenue?
No.
There's a Johnson within the Jefferson complex that's been there for years.
All right, I see, this is my hesitation, you know, in keeping a meeting efficient, and that's part of like doing the work outside of the committee, just so we avoid this. Angel, I know, and I don't like saying who asked what, but a member came in earlier, but talking about if we could continue to add things after tonight's meeting. But I don't know, because this committee is gonna be taking a position on these things tonight, and my only concern with adding new things in is then we're gonna also have to craft that language here tonight. And, so,
It's not the time for it, I
yeah,
understand.
no, I'm not, I don't wanna, I'm only saying what I'm saying so that like we're aware that we have time, but I'm also not knocking it because I do know that people have ideas at different points, right? You might not have had that idea some time ago, but, and maybe there's some other way we can figure it out, or now we're way ahead and we can consider it. So I think we did the capital, and I think there wasn't really much, we added a new one, but it's the only one for each, so there's nothing to re-rank there. And then the expense ones, so 3 we're keeping. We'll get to what agencies they are, but this might be relatively easy too if we just decide not to change the order at all. We're keeping 3, we're keeping 8, we're keeping 13, we're keeping 16. We are removing 18 because, as I believe with the other one, from the lights and night show that was in the Capitol one, we're being the same thing told here about the additional service fans and equipment, that's something to contact the electeds about. And then 19 we're keeping, 22 we're keeping, 30 we're keeping, and then 52 we're keeping. I mean, these are notes from the staff, but if the staff says to keep it, I'm for keeping it.
I'm sorry, Dan,
Yeah.
but thank you for that. But you guys also talked about this all last
Well,
month,
right,
and you
yeah.
agreed to all the keeping.
Yeah. I'm just, you know, thinking. And then the new one. The new one is gonna touch into like what we're gonna go into in the next discussions we have. But this was proposed by me, so it was it's to the homeowner rental assistance. It's to provide, expand, or enhance rental assistance programs, vouchers for permanent housing. To provide eligibility to single-parent families that are homeless or at risk of homelessness and they're not suffering from a serious mental health illness or substance abuse issue for the New York City 1515 Supportive Housing Program. The federal government's new spending plan is slashing public housing funding, which is putting many families in New York City at risk of becoming homeless. Furthermore, in recent years, homelessness in New York City has reached its highest level since the Great Depression. As of July 15th, 2025, over 35,000 children were in New York City homeless shelters. Providing eligibility to single-parent families that are homeless or at risk of homelessness for the New York City 1515 Supportive Housing Program will go a long way in reducing homelessness in New York City, especially child homelessness. And just on the mental health component, this is by no means, or substance abuse, saying that we're not trying to, or we haven't been serving those those demographics of people, but it's just saying that it's to expand this program to another demographic. This would just be single parent families with no diagnosed mental health illness or a substance abuse problem. And essentially, okay, please, you everybody have the time to speak, but, so to sum it up, this is trying to expand what supportive housing is doing. There's been, contention in the neighborhood, and it's understandable, and we'll get to that, with, the same type of housing being built here, supporting the same demographic, us having not, there not being fair share or being evenly distributed. But at the same time, we know there's a need for affordable housing. So how can we look to at least, craft supportive housing to something that we could, consider to be open to, but to other demographics, and ones that, I hate to say it like this, but would maybe not be so contentious, which again is understandable to some extent. And so this is a big ask. I've already been told, oh, that's not what that program does. And I'm like, well, obviously I know that. That's why I'm asking. But, so, I'll leave it up to all of you to consider. It is, and then I think Jessica, I saw your hand.
Yeah.
It is an ask of HRA, and I believe we do have, Angel, correct me if I'm wrong, 16 and 30. Was there anything else that's HRA?
That's it, there's 3 HRAs, including the new one.
Okay, so then we'll have to decide where we would want to slot that in, if we're open to adding that in, first of all. So Jessica?
I think what you're trying to do is really a good thing. I guess what I would suggest we clarify, in putting this forward as an ask. You're asking for a new program
No.
based on the criteria?
So there's population served. So there, I think right now it lists out 5 populations that you have to fit within those criteria to qualify. Essentially, this is asking to add.
So you want to modify the eligibility criteria?
Exactly.
Modify the eligibility.
So we could change the wording to that. Yeah.
That would be much better because it doesn't stigmatize anybody.
Well, no, but I want to be specific about how we're modifying.
Yeah, but what I mean is that with the 1515, it doesn't just say just for, like, let's say.
Well, no, it right now, as the criteria are written out, it does say, for a single family, with a parent with a mental health illness, it actually, that's how they break it down. And I'm saying, yes, leave all that as it is, but essentially add in a 6th qualification.
Right.
And what I wanted to circle back to, when I forgot that, Dave, is, there's treatment, and then there's preventative treatment, right? I've never been homeless. But I can only imagine, if you were a child who's homeless or a parent dealing with that you're at serious risk of a mental health illness. And I'm not trying to be presumptuous, but I think that's just a safe assumption to make.
Well, again, I'll just add this. Homelessness and a child and a family experience, that's a trauma. And as we know, trauma doesn't get resolved necessarily what you've experienced when you now have a home. You still have experienced a trauma that you need help to get through. And it may not be diagnosable at that moment. But, trauma is often played out years later as people get developmentally stuck at a point. And I'm a mental health worker, okay, in my youth work as well. And unless there's support and treatment to help that person, it will affect relationships, other things in their life. So it may not be diagnosed at the moment, but homelessness is a trauma for families. And even these statistics here, this is what we know, because this is what's in the shelter system. There are many families that are homeless, living with other families in conditions that we would not consider being at home. So.
May I just, thank you, David.
I got it.
And thank you, Deb. What I'm suggesting is, in your explanation,
Yes.
put a real short, simple sentence that you're asking. Modify the criteria for eligibility.
Yeah, we're gonna change it to provide to modify, if that works.
Yeah. And have that be crystal clear in the first sentence of
And I
what
would
you're
say,
asking.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's
this is
going.
a traumatic experience. And although maybe not, there's a way.
No, you said it better than I ever could. So with that change, Angel's already, he's got it, he showed through, we're literally gonna change our first line. So instead of provide eligibility, it's gonna be modified. Jessica, thank you.
Criteria.
Yeah, the criteria,
Because
exactly.
that's a box you can check now.
Yes,
Right,
yeah.
that's what we want, right?
No, 100%, yeah. Thank you both. All right, so I don't see any issue with keeping in light of the new rankings, with everything else, but we do have the 3 HRA ones, so we'll just go as like 1, 2, and 3. So right now, 1 is the other domestic violence service request, which I believe we added last year. And then number 30 was that the city should increase funding for group representation of tenants. So that's 1 and 2 right now. So the question now would be, this third one, where would we want to slot that in? I'll just start off by saying, I definitely think it should go before number 2. The question is, does it go before number 1, which would be the domestic violence service request? And, you know, what, if a couple people want to share their ideas, they can. I would just say that it's possible that this modification to the 1515 program could be serving domestic violence. You know, I do know, and I think people are aware, that a substantial amount of people that are homeless or in shelters with children are victims of domestic violence. So this would essentially be serving that population as well as then people that are in that situation, but not for that reason. So that would be my argument for moving it to 1, and then slotting down the domestic violence services to number 2, and then putting the city should increase funding for group representation of tenants to number 3. How do you all feel about leaving everything else the same? Which I think there's no problem with that. And then what I just said about those 3, or if there's any differing opinions on ranking those. No? Okay, great. Wow, that's beautiful.
I do have one question though,
Okay.
for number 18, on the,
The removing here? Yeah.
yeah, why?
Oh, so it's the same reason as the one we're removing for the lights in NYCHA on the Capitol. The response from the agency, again, this being NYCHA, said that we have to reach out to the city electeds.
Right.
So then to leave the request to NYCHA here, it's essentially, they're just gonna tell us the same thing. They're not gonna do anything. So then that means that, you know, if this is something that we wanna take up, which it should be, right? Because we have it on there and nothing happened. We should, so then we're gonna have to reach out to our electeds, which I'll do. So that's why it's being removed. Because if we leave it here, it's gonna shoot it back to us every time.
Yeah, but
It's not
NYCHA
gonna-
should be the ones providing the service vans because.
Well, you might be right, but, so this is how I see it. I could be wrong. I don't wanna leave it there at the risk of that, but what I will say is we go to the electeds, ask them, and then they're like, wait, this isn't supposed to come to me, this is supposed to go to NYCHA. That'll
Give it
create
right
its
back
own
to
can
them.
of worms for night. Then it'll be better that we did that, right? So, but, Angel?
Okay, you wanna use that side
So just so I have it right, so for the HRA ranking, it's DV 1515 10 representation.
1515 DV and then tenant representation.
So 1515 is 1.
It's gone to
DV is
1,
2.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so then I could just take a motion on, this is a total.
That's just,
Oh, we did.
I mean, like, all in the HPDs as well.
Yeah, we're leaving, we're not changing anything. Yep. So everything's just what we just said and then, okay. So then do I have a motion to, okay, Candy?
Motion to accept the capital and expense priority budget request for fiscal 2027 on the housing committee as proposed.
Thank you for
I second
saying
it.
that. Seconded by Christina. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any present not voting? The motion passes. All right, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. All right, so now we're gonna move to old business. So before we even start, I was asked, you know, that some people were wondering why this was put on the agenda again. You know, we had these presentations last month. The reason we have presentations and things shared here is because a lot of times we've heard, oh, that happened. I don't know how that happened. Why didn't they come here, right? So just because someone comes to the table doesn't mean we're saying yes. We could very well be saying no. We could very well be saying, no, and this is what we think you should do, right? But we can't have those discussions if we don't have those discussions. So that's that, right? That's why we had them come in and present. Right now, why are we having a discussion? Well, because they presented, and now we should be those things up, right? We've always talked about following up. They came here, the Third Avenue supportive housing, 5 years before they're planning to do anything. They have not even bought the property yet. So that's way ahead. That's something, regardless of what your feelings are about this project, that's not something that typically happens. So that's a good thing for the board. That's gonna be maybe a practice people see, regardless of what the project is. And then the Crisis Residential Support Center, well, that, as we heard last month, is they're planning, they were hoping to do it like beginning of next year. So it is very pressing that this be on the agenda. I actually would be willing to consider a motion on that tonight. So now, before we dive in and just hear what everybody else's thoughts are, I will say that after our meeting last month, there was, and it was a part my fault that, you know, I didn't recognize the meeting went long, that there were hands from community members that were not recognized, and they will be recognized tonight within reason. And I did go with Xavier, and we met with some tenants. I think it was the Monday after the meeting. What? 333. Well, I don't like to share other people's information, but if you want to, okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. I just said we met with tenants, and they expressed their concerns about both projects. I think their concerns were valid. I won't speak for them. If they want to speak tonight, they can. But I think the sentiment was to what I was saying earlier about there being a concentration of a certain type of supportive housing and housing being built here, and that there's a question of fair share, and extended to other concerns that might not really fall in the housing committee, but, you know, public safety concerns. I don't know if they're all stemming from that, but that there, you know, might be a connection just with some properties where they have a certain at-risk populations, and then the questions of like what services are being offered there and how are they helping the people that live there. And Isaac, our human services chair, reached out to me because I definitely, as he should have, and you know, he's very engaged, and I think this touches on his committee. So I told him that, you know, he's welcome to speak to them as well. I will say that, and I'll just say two things, and we'll get into discussion. I think the sentiment for the crisis center from the committee that I gathered last month was that we were not really for it. That was the way the conversation went for me. And so that's what I'm taking. We can have a conversation, but I felt like it was going to be a no from us. And so I'd like then, if that is the case and we have discussion, that we take that position. I also don't think it was a no to the location. I think it was a no, period. I do just want to say that our city council person, Diana Ayala, came to our full board meeting. She also said that she's not for that. You know, take that for what it's worth, but just so you know. And I do appreciate her doing that because she showed up and spoke about specific things on our agenda. And then for the proposed supportive housing at 2162 3rd Avenue, let me just say too, it's supportive housing and affordable housing, right? Let's just remember that just for the sake of, so we have a proper discussion. But as it was presented, this supportive housing project, it was similar like what Simbali Terrace was for, you know, mental health issues and et cetera. And there was a lot of contention there. I believe our council, I don't know what their position was last time. I think maybe in the end it was supported by the board, you know, but I think the idea that because we support something means we have to keep supporting that same thing everywhere we do. And the council person is now not supporting this project. I don't know what the sentiment from this committee was. It just expressed the sentiment of community residents that I spoke to. This is kind of why I've been thinking on this, and I heard their what they expressed, and I think it extends beyond supportive housing. I do think there is a frustration in this community about, you know, we're put in a very difficult spot, right? Because we have to offer a lot of these services, and we want to, and but then when we say, you know, maybe not that one, then it's perceived like we don't want to help, right? And it's not really a good position to be put in. Like, you finally say no, or you're just like, hey, maybe how about something else? And then, oh, wow, you don't want to help people? I mean, like, that's not exactly the case. It's not so black and white as that, but rather than, just say no, the consideration was no, maybe to what you came in and presented. And, how about you build affordable housing? And if you want to build something supportive to a different demographic, this time maybe one that is just, like I just said, single parent families that are homeless, that are not dealing with substance abuse issues or mental health illnesses, but just people that are down on their luck, that have a job, but they just can't afford to live somewhere, right? It's ridiculously expensive. We build affordable housing. We could be building affordable housing and really targeting it at those people who need it most. And the advantage to this, and I'll just end my part on that, is one interesting thing that was shared with us was that the community preference thing, there are loopholes with supportive housing because they do the voucher program. So, if we are able to get all of this done right, we could essentially be getting affordable housing for people in this community, actually in this community, who really need it. Because we wouldn't have to worry about the lottery system and that whole lawsuit about, it's discriminatory for you to give affordable housing to people in the neighborhood, which maybe it is, but I've never understood that one. So with that said, can we just do B first? Because I feel like that's going to be quick, and then we'll go to A. So does anybody have anything? Charles is here. I want to respect his time for being here. At the same time, we heard the presentation. So unless there are any questions for him, then I'm not gonna really get into that. I'm just gonna see if there's a hand up and then see if anybody wants to just make a motion on that. Okay.
I think I asked this last time, but I just want to ask it again because I'm not sure that I'm clear. What is the use group and is the use as of right in this location?
What use group for what? The
Crisis center.
the crisis center?
That's what we're talking about, right?
It's for as far as I heard, it's a temporary 30-day thing. I believe they're referred short-term, 28 days. They're referred by the Department of Health. They get referrals. I don't know exactly what the Department of Health's criteria for those referrals are, but I believe it's somebody that's having a mental health illness episode or something of that nature, and they basically give them it might cover more than that, but I mean, it is what it says it is, I guess.
It's an R7B zoning district, and what I'm asking, it's a residential zoning district, so
I don't know if that is zoned for it.
that's kind of what I think the operator had an answer, what is the use group? Because it's like a technical question. I understand.
Or permit as a right.
If it's a no,
As
okay.
of right. Those are my questions.
Okay, is it, all right, go ahead, Charles.
Use group 4, permit as a right. That's all.
We can't hear you.
Use group 4 is as of right.
Oh,
Yep.
he said that? Okay.
That's right. Thank you.
And again, we still can take a position, we feel strongly about this. Our position will be sent to the Department of.
Exercise of voice.
Right, and sometimes we can do more than exercise of voice. So do we have a motion? And I just want to say, whoever makes the motion, don't just make it for this address, just make it for our whole district when you do it. Because if you remember last time, we were said if we don't like this location, would we be open to another site? I think the sentiment is.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, so 2 questions and then we're gonna vote.
Yeah.
Are they for me or for Charles?
Whoever can answer it, okay? Do we have other crisis residential support centers in our neighborhood? And if so, how many do we have here?
No, you do not
We
have
don't
it.
any.
The closest one is Gramercy or Riverdale.
Thank you.
Andy?
So mine is too, either it could be a question or a comment that I have, but it's just at the presentation, I wasn't so clear or too convinced about the way this whole program is gonna work out. Because if it's for people with targeting, they're targeting mental health. 30 days, you're not gonna cure somebody so fast. Within 30 days, but everyone is gonna be mixed in and lumped in together. And it's just it's the program itself is what I'm not convinced on how the process and the procedure of it. I don't know. I guess I don't have the pamphlet, or maybe you've got it before. I missed that one, but
No, I got what you got. The presentation.
so I'm not convinced about that. I don't see how. I do have people that, and I'm not discriminating anyone because it touches home, and this touches home with youth that I am dealing with that are having a mental challenge. We don't have anything for the youth right now at all, like zero to none, besides one Sinai's that they have on the west side, and not enough beds. 17 beds is not enough for everybody, while families are waiting to get this individual some help. And that includes also adults. But for 30 days, you're lumping everybody who's actually, like how you actually going to give the therapy, what kind of services you're really going to give, how you're going to contain if they want to hang out and spill out of the building, It's just a lot that I don't think is so thoughtfully planned for what we want to have in our community. We want to service everybody, but we want to make sure that everyone is going to be treated right too. Now they're not going to just be chasing the money because the money's there from the Department of Health and Medicaid and Medicare and their insurances. You understand? My concern is the real services that this family member, that individual is going to actually get from them.
I think that's.
And my concern is that.
And that goes, I hear everything you're saying, I think that goes beyond the scope of this committee. That is a human service.
Right.
I think the other concern is.
But it's how they live and how stuck together.
Well, also like this, I don't think be anybody from any community, again, we could have all those beds filled, by people that are not even from this community. And I don't think, look, I'm just gonna speak my own mind. I think everybody on this board is very respectful of how they speak and everything, but just like, we don't always have to, we can say no. Feeling.
I think that was a great question, whether we have it or not. So we don't. I think we have a lot of things adjacent to it, and I think that's the thing. So I don't really want to, because I feel like we're aligned on how we feel about this. Okay, so it's definitely a no to this location, but how do we feel about just saying no right now to this ask with any location and making that the position? Would we prefer to just say no to this or cast a wider net with this ask right now? That's it. Well, I'm asking you because let me say something. When I ask a question, this isn't a dictatorship because I can do that. I can just tell you guys this is how it goes, and then you'll turn around and say, well, so when I ask, just tell me, and then we can go ahead. So is there a motion then? Can I make a motion? Yeah, I'll make.
Can you speak a little louder?
For B, well, no, we're only talking about B. So I'll make a motion to not recommend that we have any proposed crisis residential support centers in East Harlem. Do I have a second? Seconded by Marie. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? One opposed. Jessica? Any abstentions? Any present not voting? The motion passes. Now, just so we're aware, because there might have been concern there for a second, just because we're saying no to everything right now, that's not like things are flexible down the road, but that's a no right now. So, I would have probably added. Well, we don't have it.
Well, but it's not a one size fits all, so you can't just.
No, we don't have any crisis support. I'm speaking specifically about B and specifically about that program that they were looking to bring here. That we don't want that specific program, this referral from the Department of Health for 28-day crisis housing in this community. It's a, yes.
In where the specificity of what we want to ensure our voice is heard on is important. The general sentiment, if there's consensus and agreement, amongst the committee to take to the board. But the specific of what it is we're saying is also important. So, will we get there with in the specifics of this?
You want to write it?
No, I would prefer to take a vote on something that's,
Look, let me ask you a question. When I just asked everybody if they had anything to say, then for a vote to happen, and then you said this. So there is a motion. I don't know now.
we've already voted.
Right. So right, and I literally paused here, and then nobody said anything, and then I made the motion, and then we make the motion, we vote on it, and now it's out. So I think for this month, I'm just going to leave it as it is, and we can revisit it. But this was a specific thing. I think we can clarify that in the language when we pass it, that we're not speaking to anything other than what was presented to us, and that that specific program, and that we don't approve of it anywhere right now. Okay? That program, that crisis center with those referrals, that's it. We don't have to overcomplicate this. All right, so we're gonna move to A. And I'm sorry that I went out of order. I thought that one would be quicker. What time are we at? All right, I'm gonna do 10 minutes and we're gonna leave, all right? So A is the proposed supportive housing at 2162 3rd Avenue. You all heard I shared what happened last month. I shared the meeting with the residents. I shared at this time there is no ask, obviously, but I would like to get an idea of how this committee feels about what was presented to them. And then I will recognize 2 or 3 hands from the community, because I think the committee should also hear what they have to say. It shouldn't just be. So you'd rather hear what they have to say first? Anybody on the committee want to share just off of what was presented to them before that? Or would you want to hear 2 or 3 hands from the public? It's up to you guys. So I'm asking if anyone wants to raise their hand now, or we can circle back afterwards. All right, well, let me not be presumptuous.
Can you increase your volume?
Angel. I'm gonna have to wait for Angel. I don't know how to increase our mic volume. It might not be possible. It might just be, yeah. When Angel comes back in, I'll see, but with that, we're gonna move forward. Is there anybody here who wants to speak from the public? Okay, introduce yourself and share whatever you'd like.
I'm Joe. And this housing committee besides we oversaturated. Just walking here, I saw 3 crises coming out of the supportive housing establishment. So we don't need it. We've done our part. We've done another neighborhood. We've got all that we can use. We're busting at the seams. We're overflowing. I appreciate everyone's issues, but there's families here, there's little children. We don't need any more. And if you guys actually live in this neighborhood, there's no way on earth you walk around thinking, you know what we need? We need more supportive housing. Okay? This housing committee could be talking about the unfair taxing of condo owners and homeowners.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see some action on that. We could be talking about the abatements.
I'd like to stick to.
We could be talking about a lot of other things than supportive housing.
Okay.
Because we have plenty, we don't need any more, between diversion programs, Worth Island, M35 bus, it together.
Angel, go ahead first.
Okay, I'm very politely holding my hand up and waiting to be recognized. My name is Angel Muscane. I'm the district manager for Community Board 11. I don't live here. Every other
Why are you
person,
voting for things for
He
people who
doesn't
live
vote,
here?
he works for the board.
it's important for us to understand what a community board is and what it does. I work here. I don't live here. All of these people.
We need more people that live here.
All of these
on this
people.
board.
See, now I'm trying to communicate. I listen very politely.
No one interrupted you, so just give the same.
I think it's important for the community that's being served by the board, or that the board is trying to serve, to understand what the board is trying to do and what the board is. Frustration is totally understandable. No one's minimizing. But we're not gonna help anything by screaming and setting the table.
What is screaming? What's insulting? What's insulting?
Am I able to finish?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him. What's insulting? He's got the floor. You just said insulting, so what's?
But, okay, Candy, Angel, 1 second. We respected your answer. We don't need to get into who's insulted or what. We're not insulted here. You're a community member. You can come in and say what you want, but you do need to be respectful and recognize when other people are speaking. Well, but you're continuing to talk over people. That's not
Just
respectful
go to the next
behavior.
person.
Hey, no, Angel, go ahead.
No, it's fine. All right, it's fine. No one in the community should understand what a community board does. No one in the community should understand that the members of the board are members of the community board. You're frustrated, so are many other people. The suggestion that people that are on this community board do not live here is erroneous. That's wrong. I understand you're upset, and you're seeing all kinds of stuff. We're seeing it too, all of the time. All of the time. The community board is not bringing the supportive housing. We heard a presentation. We didn't bring it. Some conflate On Point with supportive housing, with a methadone clinic, with a crisis center. These are different things. A homeless center, I'm just gonna keep talking and raise voice, I can be heard by the other people. A homeless center is a different thing. Community boards do not approve homeless shelters. Community board did not approve On Point, despite what everybody says in the community. As a matter of fact, the community board opposed the siting of the On Point here. Okay, so again, respectfully, understanding the frustration, and everyone has the right to express that frustration, and we need to hear these frustrations. It doesn't justify accusations that the board is in some way ignoring the plight of the community when the community board is of the community. Without pointing out members, there's members of this table that live 2 blocks away. There's members of this table that live on the same block as that coffee shop that gets tortured with all kinds of feces and nonsense all the time. Yes, these members use those stations that are in this district. So I only say that to say that we hear the frustration, and we're here listening to the frustration, and the frustrations are informing positions. However, they're not the only position. The community board is also responsible for hearing other voices, not only the other voices, and not only your voice, all of the voices, all of the voices. And while the siting of an opioid prevention center in the district is frustrating, the fact is that you have people doped out in the district way before that opened. Right? We didn't put it here. You don't like it? Call Mayor Adams. Call Mayor Adams and tell Mayor Adams to not put it here. Because people go and no, the community board not supporting that one or any other one. I mean, or any other, excuse me, or any other one. So the idea, you're just not understanding, and you're insisting on not understanding. And I'll stop there, but if the other folks that share comments would just share them without the accusations, I think that's more constructive. This board has not taken a position on this, and you can shake your head all you want, but it's the fact. I work across the street from Prospero. I've been working here since before the building went up. So I know fully about that building. Fully.
Why did you vote for more of this?
First of all, Angels doesn't vote.
The
Angels, the district manager. Okay, first of all, I'm only going to speak about this committee. There's a committee that's here. We just said no to something. All right, well.
said anything. No one has voted on it. No one has said anything about this project. No one has said anything.
No, she's talking about the crisis support.
You just said no.
I know, but apparently we didn't.
You all said no, and then one person apparently is all.
The position is no.
Right, the position is no.
End of conversation.
If it was gonna be one voice here, we wouldn't need a community board.
But
We
we're not
find one
listening.
person to
We
say.
said we're not listening, the position is no. Because we're not listening.
We said no, and but again, this is a community board. It isn't one voice. Ultimately, it's a democratic process. We take the position of the majority. The majority here, the overwhelming majority, said no. I'm also not gonna pass judgment on someone who says yes. We can respectfully disagree. I will just speak for myself, and then I don't wanna make this personal. I'm born here, I live here, I have a business here. I've been here my whole life. I'm 2 blocks away from where this is being proposed. I see everything you see, I hear everything you hear. We are volunteers, okay? I take that responsibility seriously. I came out. You might not like everything I say, you might not like everything I do, but I did come with Xavier. We heard you out, and I heard what you said. I even agree with what you're saying. I don't like the way some things get said. That's my opinion, but I understand there's frustration, okay? With this supportive housing project, oftentimes, and I said this earlier, we're just an advisory board. There's this misconception that we stamp things and then they get built. A lot of these things happen without even coming to us. This could be one of those things that just happens, and you'll wake up one day, you'll see it going up, and then you'll say, well, how come the community board didn't say anything? And we'll say, well, because we didn't entertain it, we never heard what they were saying. That's what could happen. They came here the same way the other people came here. We said no. It's hard to not have a conversation when you have people at the table. That's why we have committees. So hopefully when we go to full board, there isn't a bigger argument about it. With that said, obviously, we've heard one person.
Point of order, but how are we gonna hear the rest of the voices?
Well, I want to see if anyone else, no one else had their hands up, but I would take one more hand, because I don't really want this to go past 8:30. So we'll take one more hand, and then we'll talk for 5 or 10 minutes, and if we want to, on how we feel, all right?
Okay, I'll make this brief. My name is Ricardo Ramirez, and I live in 416 East 117th Street, right next door to this property. I grew up in Jefferson housing, and I now, through my mother, you study hard, you work hard, you succeed. I'm a homeowner. The building I'm in is a condominium. I'm now raising a family. But I just see our quality of life declining in this community because of all these programs. Walking down the street with my son, what does he see day to day? Are junkies, just addicts, falling over. We just see the drug use, the blatant, bodily functions on the streets. How can you productively raise a family in such a setting? And then we're gonna add on, well, out of the control of the board, but there's some others higher up who are condoning and approving of these programs in this community. What about those who were raised to work hard, to create a community, a productive community? What do you say to our children when all they see is the trash and the people laying on the streets? What can we do about improving this community? Lifting it up, not being a charity case for the rest of everybody else to come here and nurture their habits. So that's what I'm seeking, to improve this community and improve the quality of life for us residents who are leading, who are trying to lead productive lives and instilling these ideas in our children.
All right,
Thank you.
no, thank you. All right, so,
Ricardo, your testimony was with regard to the crisis
is right nearby the crisis. Next door. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Just so you know, we did not.
Exactly. No, and I wanted to thank you for that.
No, you don't need to thank me. There's not a thank you.
You don't have the ultimate stamp. Well, so there is a possibility that.
Well, I will give you a little bit of peace of mind. Our city council person is also against that, right? And against 2162 Third Avenue as it's been proposed, okay? So just so we're clear right now.
Community boards in other neighborhoods fight for what the people that live there want, not what the people on the board want.
But I think you're not understanding it. I don't think that the people on the board, everybody's an individual. There are people that are not on the board that don't share your opinion. There are people on this board that do share what you feel, and there are people on this board who don't. I'm going to be honest with you, speaking for myself. As far as these go, I do share your opinion on them not being done. Okay, that's my opinion. I've spoken too much though. So Candy, and then if there are other hands up here, and then we'll kind of we'll talk. I'll say some other things, but Candy, go ahead.
So the problem with these programs, if they're run by the state department, they do whatever they want as far as placing on any of these kind of programs, okay? Even if we say no, where do you think all these pop-ups of these methadone programs come from? Look at who's getting the funding. Where these funding sources are from, if it's from the state, it's like eminent domain. They'll put a place even if we don't want it, unless you complain about it, everybody collectively, because this can't be your fight only and not everybody else's. And I'm only saying it by experience of not only being on the board, but also speaking on behalf of the whole community up and on 16th Street. You know, when the merchants even didn't want to have a program done, and it was being imposed by the state. It's fight the fact, and it's the state. You have to fight with your elected, not even fight with them, but bring it to their attention to your elected officials that are on the state level. Follow where the funding source is coming from, and then you have to go to that elected official as well and let them know your sentiment. You understand? Because guess what? Remember, we vote them in. Okay? They're there to work at our pleasure. All right, we're here, we're all appointed, you know, but we're trying the best that we can to make the accommodation. I'm born and raised here. So it's not like I'm not, excuse me,
I don't want to back up, but Candy, just wrap up your thought.
follow the money, see where the funding sources are, and then go to that elected official and let them know exactly how you feel about it as well. You know, but the state they do their own.
Well, and I hear you, but I don't want to kick the can down the road. I agree with you, but we can take positions and we can advocate. That is what we're here to do. Is there any other comments before I think I go to next steps and see how everyone feels about that? All right, so
I just want to say something. I worked in it. I don't support the project we just talked about, but I would consider the other project only under the auspice. You know, I listened to you. I said, my family came to this community in 1903. My grandmother at 8 years old. Right, so we can talk about all this and that. But when you have somebody that's coming 5 years ahead of time and is interested in partnering and neighboring with a community, maybe we have an opportunity to impact how that person would be a neighbor in this community. And I think too often, as Candy had communicated, we're not often sought out to say we're here. And I'll use an example like charter schools. All charter schools are supposed to come before community boards, but do not. One that came before and put their stuff out, we welcome them because we were part of helping them integrate into the community and serve the community. No, we don't need any more services, but there are people that need service. There are people that need homes. There are people that deserve homes, and because they have a mental illness doesn't mean that they do not deserve an equal opportunity to survive and live and be a productive member of society. So I would say that we do take a moment to at least hear out
what somebody's proposing to do 5 years ahead of time, as opposed to somebody that can buy something outright and move in and do it regardless. So if somebody wants to partner in the community and listen, I would suggest that each of you become public members or maybe community board members so that you are active in this process.
Oh, how do we get on?
Oh, you apply. You apply. You apply. And actually, there are a lot of people that are turning out, so there'll be a lot of open spots at the next application.
All right, thank you, David. So I want to just get to next steps. We don't have to take a position tonight. I think my sentiment, okay, Jessica.
I just want to acknowledge that the site that they're approaching.
Yeah.
It's a very large corner lot. It's a
Yeah.
big footprint.
Yeah.
And whatever happens there should be very intentional and should be well received by the community.
Well, and
right? So that's why they're making an effort, because I think there's an awareness of the value of this site within the East Berlin community.
I agree, and here's what I'll say. Timbali Terrace came and we approved it, right? And there was, I'm just trying to paint the timeline here. St. Francis came 5 years ahead. I'm not for right now another supportive housing catering to that demographic here at that location. That's my opinion. I think they came early. We keep saying, and maybe we're right, that they came early to talk to us and they could be a good partner. The question now is, we push back and say, well, we don't want that there. Here's what the community wants, or here's what the community needs. Are you open to doing what we asked you to do? Right? So part of the project is, what is it, 40% affordable housing, or is that the 40% affordable housing? I don't think anybody's got a problem with 40% affordable housing, right? So it's the 60%, right? That's why I talked earlier about modifying the 15-15 program. Single parent families, not just homeless. I think maybe it's in there, but the language got mixed up. At risk of homelessness, right? This could be a mother with 2 children living in an apartment. They just can't pay the rent. Father, they're not making enough money. They need somewhere to live. They're going to have to be removed from their community, and God knows how far they are from their job, whatever. Speaking personally, if that's something that we could present to them and say that that's the other component to the affordable housing, I'm for that. And if they want to have a talk with us, I don't know how you guys feel about that being the counter to them, saying, no, with St. Francis. They came, they said, yeah, I'll get to you. Yeah, I definitely reckon. Yeah. So they came, St. Francis, last month. They said, this is what we're planning to do. This is what we've done. We're thinking of acquiring this land. How do you guys feel about this, right? So maybe I don't feel good about that there right now. That's not what's needed. So let's go back, right? Now we have an opportunity to say no and give us not conditions. No, and give us what we want, right? So yes to affordable housing, and yes, all right, but it's not a condition, because a condition usually means you're giving them something and then asking for something. We're not really willing to give them anything here that we don't want to give. So affordable housing, fine. And then if they want to do supportive housing, we could call it supportive housing. There's a stigma now, I guess, to that word. But if that is just for single parents with children who are either homeless or at risk of homelessness, I can't see that being a problem for anyone. And then, so the response to them could be no. What about this? How do you guys feel about bringing them back to the table for that discussion and telling them that that's how we feel about your proposal, a no to what you presented, and this is what we'd like to see?
I would say I think we need to work out exactly what we want before we then, so that we have our ducks in order, not just going up
set, like the rough guideline, can we then, next month's meeting, we will sit and we will discuss this in depth, but I want it to be with the idea that we're gonna bring them back. It's gonna be a no to what was presented to us, and it's gonna be something along the lines of serving this group, because if we just voted to modify our district needs to add a group in, then I can't see how we'd say no to asking for housing to be built for that group, right? So this would literally be an opportunity, if we can play this right, that we could get affordable housing and housing for single parent families in our community, not from outside the community. The voucher program would ensure these people are within our community, that we are not once again absorbing issues from outside of our community, right? So I'd like that to just be what's considered. And then next month, we can sit and have a more fleshed out discussion about this. And then I would like to bring them in, what would that be, December. So November, we'll have a robust discussion and a plan. And I can work with Angel to really tailor that in. And then we'll bring them back in December and we'll be like, this is how it is, okay? With that said, I have one hand from the public.
Oh, and just the location you're discussing is next to the college?
Yeah, Hunter College, 2162 Third Avenue. It's literally would be their next door neighbor all the way to the corner.
And you're not considering 80-20, what happened to 80-20? 80% market, 20%.
Yeah. Well, also, I just want to say something too. The number one agenda of this board and of this committee, specifically this committee, we're not really here to create affordable housing as much as we're here to preserve affordable housing. The land use committee would ultimately be the one that approves. So when you talk about these Timbale Terrace and whatever, they did come to the board, but this wasn't the committee. That was land use. They are responsible for that. I will say though that affordable housing is the number one thing. So while 80-20 doesn't happen, it's not really our position right now. We would want affordable housing there. I think the concern is not the affordable aspect. The concern is about the demographics that we have to, are continuing to serve, and how can we pivot and serve demographics. I don't like to put in a blank, but I hear everything you're saying. I walk those same streets. I go to the train. I'm not blind to what you're seeing, and I'm also open to us helping other groups. I think I will say that my opinion is city agencies and the government like to pass things, quote unquote, that look sexy. They pick a hot topic and that's where they build their platforms around. For some reason, it's not always the thing that needs the most help. I'm stunned that there isn't more for families and parents at risk of homelessness. I'm shocked that they wouldn't think that that's what people would want to see and support. Not that what they've been doing is not, but that why isn't there some balance there? So, so there is something for that. There is. No, let me, and I'm going to end on this. There is a program, it's ANCP. There have been people living for many years. We have people on this board who are in buildings like that that are waiting to be converted over to affordable home ownership. I've literally myself, Angel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, with Angel, have attempted to set up numerous meetings with HPD and these properties to help expedite them to their home ownership. I have offered many nights to come into this meeting in storms where everybody else didn't want to come, to try to push that along. That is an agenda. That is something that we'll keep fighting for. I keep trying to bring the parties to the table. You're here and hearing one meeting. I want to assure you all that this is not the only thing we're working on, but it got brought to the table, and I saw it as an opportunity to say no and say, this is what this community needs. That's it. I think you can go home tonight and rest assured that we're not approving this as it was presented. Angel?
So affordable home ownership has been a position of the community board for many years. Yeah, because you're not really paying attention. But it's throughout.
Well, I touched on it. So
Well, we talked about it here. I could even have somebody send you the meeting. Well, you had a question, and then Jessica, and then we're gonna adjourn. Candy. They'll get money from HPD, I believe, in HRA, and the 1550.
Yeah, because the part I'm not understanding is, and again, I don't know anything about it, but I do know in my own work, you have funding for something. You usually don't have the flexibility to change things. Now, I want you to do this thing. No, because you got funding for.
No, you're 100%
That's what I'm
right.
trying to understand, like, how, because if that was the case, you would do that for every project.
Well, no, we're not looking to, that's why we put on our budget request straight to the agencies to modify the program so that they would include other groups that we're talking about.
Yeah, earlier that, when you said that, I understood.
Right,
but
so,
this last one-
so we can ask them. The thing is, I think it's gonna be a no to what they're asking for, then they can work within the parameters. If they're gonna come back and say that this is all that we can do, then maybe it's just a no. We're just exploring every opportunity, but I do hear what you're saying. Okay, I got Jessica and then we're adjourning because I did say I was getting us out of here.
I just wanted to clarify about supportive.
All right, go ahead, Candy.
Supportive housing is not just for mental health people or anything like that. Supportive housing can be for people living with HIV, who have HIV, seniors. If you look at proposals from what the state is and the city is asking for, just take a moment, download it, you can see supportive housing is different criteria of different categories of different targeted populations. So domestic violence, survivors of domestic violence is one of the supportive housing that you will get supported. It's things that you're getting supported for those individuals within that housing complex. They just put the word supportive, but it can't be lumped in that automatically is gonna be people with chronically mentally ill.
I think the problem, and I agree with you, is that
It's all different
the
levels.
projects we've been getting, the last one and this one, are for the groups that they're concerned with. It's not for those. So that's the issue. Jessica, and then we're gonna adjourn.
I just, thank you for your testimony. We have a board member, Deb Pavone, who, in effect, she is our fiercest advocate for affordable housing in the district. So, she's not here tonight, but is a voice at the table and ensures that, all of those considerations are something that the community is aware of and continues to advocate. Quite frankly, why are you always voting yes?
We're not getting into that. You guys can talk about that after if you want. Angel, can you take the roll? There's no, well, we did old business, so take the roll. Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Then Brihan.
Present.
Reed Charles.
Present.
David Giordano. Present. James Gray. Present. John Green.
Here.
Johnson. Will Lopez is absent. Jessica Morris. Beverly Pavone is excused. Don Sanders left early. Loretta So.
Yeah.
Our meeting's adjourned at 8:35 p.m.
Thank you.